Guys, this is shaping up to be one of the biggest Sandbox changes ever. And considering all the changes that have occurred over the past year, especially with the inclusion of Stasis, I don't make that statement lightly. But it's obvious when reading last week's TWAB that Bungie is actually really trying to shift the meta. First, starting with our subclasses. The second TWAB this week will be going over armor mods, as well as upcoming artifact mods for next season, which I'm really excited about. Bungie actually tweeted that out today. And in the final week of this season, we'll disclose the weapon changes that are coming. However, today I wanted to focus on the exotics that I want you to be looking at and taking inventory of as we go into the next season. And more specifically, we're going to be talking about Warlocks today. Don't worry, Hunters and Titans, we'll have separate videos for you guys as well. There's just so many changes, guys, that I have to split them up by class for each one of these videos. So first up, one of the most noticeable changes going into next season will be for my top tree Dawnblades. Now, despite the nerfs, I do see some upside. Even though Icarus Dash will only be provided every 4 seconds and you only get 1 dodge, you'll still get 2 dodges with heat rises. On top of that, heat rises is also getting a duration buff from 10 to 15 seconds, as well as a time extension buff based on the kills and type of kills you get while you get airborne kills. Needless to say, guys, heat rises is something we're going to heavily spec for my top tree Dawnblades. Even though the common complaint for most Warlocks today that are rocking Burst Glide state that heat rises actually slows their momentum with Icarus Dash. But something that was brought up by Les here recently is actually Strafe Glide. Now, this glide by itself doesn't necessarily offer the best momentum for Warlocks, and Burst Glide is superior. However, when you consume your grenade and proc heat rises, the combination of Strafe Glide and heat rises allows you to have equivalent mobility to Burst Glide right now with Icarus Dash. Needless to say, in this current sandbox, not that many people are really trying to spec out for heat rises, but it's going to be vital for top tree Dawnblades next season, which actually takes us to a number of exotics, starting with Starfire Protocol. Starfire Protocol, an exotic we've made a number of builds with, offers a very simple perk, and that's Fusion Harness. Fusion grenades have an additional charge. It also grants you benefits from increased recharge, as well as Rift Energy on Fusion grenade kills. Although very nice benefits and have been utilized by us in the past, that's not what we're really using Starfire for. We're just using it for the extra grenade charge to proc heat rises as often as we can. And considering if you're rocking Max Discipline in combination with Starfire will almost allow you to constantly have heat rises procced at all times. And considering all the accuracy buffs that you get with heat rises while taken to the air, top tree Dawnblade, even though it is receiving a nerf, is actually going to get even deadlier in its identity of being the best airborne class in the game. Which actually takes us to another exotic that I'm looking forward to trying, Wings of Sacred Dawn. Now, Wings offers an exotic perk called Tomb of Dawn. Essentially, when Dawnblade is equipped, aiming weapons while you're midair suspends you there for a short time, which does improve airborne accuracy, but it also reduces flinch and increases your damage resistance. This combination stacked with heat rises. No, you may not have the constant uptime with an extra grenade like you would with Starfire, but considering all the benefits that Wings presents, the real question that's going to come up for me is how much that increase in time extension is awarded per kill. If it's substantially more, on top of the 15 seconds that you now are granted with heat rises, you may be able to get away with a high discipline build with Wings of Sacred Dawn. And Wings offers the ability to play not only the snipe game, but also to play aggressively. And considering that we just talked about Strafe Glide, momentum, all those things being more achievable next season with heat rises, I think Wings is going to be a great beneficial exotic here. Now that pretty much wraps up top tree Dawnblade for us. Let's move on to Well of Radiance. Well of Radiance is getting a lot of buffs, and the exotic that really jumped out to me is, of course, Phoenix Protocol. Now, Phoenix has often been an exotic that we look to inside of PvE and not really inside of PvP. And that's simply because Well of Radiance is just not a strong super for PvP. However, starting next season, damage resistance will be increased from 20% to 40% against enemy players inside of PvP. That in combination with Battle Hearth, where kills and assists that you make while standing in your Well of Radiance return super energy. Fellas, for objective game modes, Well of Radiance is about about to be a play. And like in the back of my head, I'm imagining Mana of Battle Harmony to get a super as quickly as I can and then swapping off the Phoenix Protocol. Are you seeing it, fellas? Are you seeing the nasty? And with 40% increase in damage resist, it's going to be much harder pushing a well without a super. Which actually takes us to our next exotic, Claws of Hamkara. Fellas, Guiding Flame, which is a perk that I think only Warlock mains even know about, provides great benefits by simply striking an enemy with your melee ability. Not only does it inflict burn damage, but it empowers yourself and nearby allies. This is actually going to get a duration buff from 7 seconds to 10 seconds, as well as a damage buff from 20% to 25%. What I like so much about this ability is the fact that you don't have to get a kill to proc it. You just have to land a single melee hit, which is why Claws of Hamkara are absolutely meta for this setup, as it provides you a second melee charge. This way, we're going to know exactly what we're going to get in terms of artifact mods, but if there is going to be an artifact mod that allows for solar-based melees to stun a champion or do some other shenanigans, maybe it's like a solar-based Tyrant Surge, or even the return of something like Solar Plexus, either way it goes, Guiding Flame with 2 melees would be a great way to apply buffs in run and gun situations with very little downtime in between. And again, like I mentioned, what makes this so beneficial is that you don't have to get a kill. You just have to apply in the melee, which is why in content like Grandmaster Nightfalls, where everything is super beefy, on top of everything just rushing you constantly, this is a great way to consistently provide you and your teammates a nice substantial buff. Now moving on to Bottom Tree Dawnblade. Fellas, this is actually going to be the one that's really going to shape things up. Bungie has kind of like switched things around to where Bottom Tree is looking to be the most lethal subclass next season. And it was actually with a very slight change, and that's actually Igniting Touch, where solar ability kills and kills on burning targets now cause targets to explode. And when they explode, that burn is applied to other nearby enemies. Now, we're going to make a video completely on burns, because burns inside of Destiny are different than just solar damage. Some weapons automatically apply burn on impact. Other weapons apply it in their AoE. And I feel like we really need to make a video going over the weapons that do fall within the jurisdiction of burns, especially when we enter into next season Sandbox. However, let's bring up some of the exotics, man, that are looking absolutely juicy for Bottom Tree Dawnblades, starting with Sunbracers. Now, Sunbracers comes with the exotic perk Helium Spirals, where it actually increases the duration of solar grenades. Really nice. But the big benefit is when you actually achieve a solar melee kill. This actually grants you unlimited solar grenades for a brief period, but it is absolutely unlimited, guys. Solar grenades are just raining. Throughout all this, though, the rework there to Igniting Touch will not only allow targets to burn longer, but you also get the increased benefits from solar grenades, which last longer, thus meaning more explosions, on top of more burn being applied to the surrounding enemies. Now, one thing I need to mention about Sunbracers. I love this exotic, but just know that the damage does not stack on single targets. Throwing more and more grenades on a single target does not apply more and more burn. It does cap out. Whether Bungie corrects this or not, and maybe they do here with Igniting Touch and whatever rework they may be doing to burns, then maybe that won't be the case and it will actually start stacking. But currently right now, that is not the case. Regardless though, for what Sunbracers is now, it's looking to be even nastier next season when combined with the new Igniting Touch, which takes us to an exotic that is walking that fine line between the light and the dark. Necrotic Grips, guys. What a fantastic exotic. This exotic offers the perk Grasp of the Devourer, where damaging combatants envenoms them with poison that deals increasing damage over time. And defeating a poison combatant spreads the condition to nearby targets. Now, one of the most unique things inside of Destiny is actually the combination of Necrotic Grips and Thorn. This was actually discovered in Beyond Light, and it's some of the best synergy we've seen inside of Destiny, which is why many of us believe that a corruption-based subclass will be coming in the future as the next set of darkness-based subclasses. But the benefit here starting next season is that Necrotic actually allows for enemies to become poisoned when you land that melee. This combination with Igniting Touch could potentially double stack here, allowing targets not only be poisoned, but then also start burning. And then when they explode, this will reproc these things back and forth, thus meaning more damage, more likelihood of explosions, and even more burns being procced. And this is before you even start including Thorn into the equation. I'm actually really excited to see this combination at work. And again, what makes Necrotic so good, even for in-game, is that you don't have to get a melee kill. I love solar grenades and Sunbracers, but you do have to get a melee-based kill to get the real benefit of that exotic. But in in-game content, where ads are so beefy, landing just a simple melee versus getting a melee kill, especially when juggling so many things in Grandmasters, is more feasible. Now, another exotic that I want to look at is one of the most underrated exotics in the game, especially for bottom tree Dawnblades, Dawnchorus. Dawnchorus comes with the perk Rites of Ember, where your daybreak projectiles actually causes targets to burn on contact. And then you can deal more damage to those targets. And all of your burn effects last longer. You simultaneously gain a small amount of melee energy each time one of your burns damages a target. Fellas, Dawnchorus is going to synergize so well next season with bottom tree Dawnblade. It's almost as if Bungie worked backwards here, right? They presented the exotic first. And had we looked into the exotic perk a little deeper, we probably could have drawn conclusions to actually the igniting touch buff that is coming next season. The synergy here, guys, is fantastic. And don't sleep on Dawnchorus, guys. Damage-wise, it is very nasty, and it's only looking to get nastier in Season 15. Which takes us to bottom tree Stormcaller. Ah, yes. Arc buddies. How can you not love them? Arc souls are actually going to get an increase in duration from 12 seconds to 13 seconds. Now, I know that's only one more second. Sometimes that's all you need, right? Just one more second. The big thing, though, is the increase in fire rate by 10%. Fellas, the exotic that should be jumping out to you is obviously Getaway Artist. Getaway provides the exotic perk Dynamic Duo, where you can actually convert your arc grenade into a supercharged arc soul, which will now be firing for longer and faster. And one of the most beautiful things about arc buddies, guys, if you like to rock No Time to Explain, yes, you can have two deadly turret buddies next to you. Now, another change that's going to be handed out to bottom tree Stormcaller is actually Landfall, which will now fire 5 arc ground projectiles on cast. Now, I don't know how big this is, but that sounds big. 5. I'm imagining in my head like an instant explosion of chaos reach upon cast, which is why 2 super related exotics are jumping out to us. One of them being Mantle of Battle Harmony, which comes with absorption cells, allowing us to gain more super energy as long as kills with that weapon match our subclass. Also, when your super is full, you gain an increase there in damage for that weapon. But again, we're just trying to get a super so we can see this landfall explosion and hopefully it kills everything in the room. However, the exotic that really benefits Stormcallers the most is actually Crown of Tempest. This comes with the exotic perk Conduction Tines, where arc ability kills increases the recharge rate of your arc abilities, as well as extending the duration of Storm Trance. Now, this doesn't exactly benefit Landfall, although the increase there in your arc abilities does apply there to the super on the front end. The main benefit with Crown, though, is actually what follows after the initial cast of your super in that extension of its duration. Long story short, Stormcallers, you're gonna have a hell of an explosion on the front end, and with Crown, you'll be able to lengthen that super for a very good duration. Now, moving on to the most IP-defining super in the game. Bungie, you surprised me. You see, months ago, Luke Smith had came out and said that they could potentially be cutting out supers in the game because they weren't necessarily IP-defining, such as the Nova Bomb. Although Nova Bomb could use some help. But he mentioned cutting potentially Middle Tree Voidwalker, Nova War. This is such a hold my beer moment from Bungie because Bungie Sandbox said, you know what? It's not IP defining now, but let's make it one of the deadliest subclasses inside of PvE. Starting with the increase in damage versus PvE combatants by 73% in the Nova Warp Super. That's nuts, man. That is a ginormous buff in damage. And look, watch us get Oppressive Darkness next season, right? It's a long season next season, guys. These artifact mods are going to matter more than any of the artifact mods we've gotten over the past few seasons because of the duration of next season. And if we get something like Oppressive Darkness on top of the 73% increase in damage with Nova Warp, it's going to be disgusting, which is why exotics like Nezrak Sin is obviously going to benefit from this greatly. You've got Abyssal Extractors where void damage kills increases ability energy recharge rate. All of this benefits each other, not just the neutral game, but also the super, and it procs on any void-based kill, even void weapon kills. Again, it states just void damage kills. This means more supers in your arsenal, as well as a number of ways to recharge your abilities, which actually takes us to the big buff, and that's actually handheld supernovas. These bad babies are going to get a buff inside of PvE by 100%. Now, we've done some shameful things with handheld supernovas. Handheld supernovas and Oppressive Darkness was one of the most disgusting things I've ever used in both PvP and even inside of PvE. But with this 100% 20% increase in damage. That in combination with exotics like Contraverse holds. Next season, I might just be a Nova Warp main. No lie. But essentially, handheld Supernova, including other grenades, when charged with Contraverse holds, will return a random amount of grenade energy on hit. That in combination with other builds, you can constantly have your grenade up at all times, and with that increase in damage by 100%, who knows? Handheld Supernova might just be able to take out full-blown Grandmaster champions. Now, talking about Nova Warp, I love all the things that are happening inside of PvE, but you're also going to have abilities where it no longer slows movement speed while in the super and while charging and being charged. It now detonates on cast, meaning it can be a shutdown super, which is very, very beneficial here for Nova Warp. An exotic I used to love pairing though with the blink abilities of Voidwalker, and I still do today, is actually Astrocyte Burst. This comes with the exotic perk Move to Survive, where you can blink further and more frequently. Your weapon's also ready quickly when coming out of blink, and radar remains up. Now, the benefit is obvious there in its neutral game, and especially for shotgun rushers. I'm actually surprised I haven't seen a resurgence of Astrocyte Burst, but I think with the slide nerfs coming out, people might actually start blinking a little more inside of Crucible. However, for Nova Warp specifically, I actually really like to use blink in combination with its super. Not talking about its super shift ability, just using blink, the jump, to traverse a map. So you see the obvious benefits here from Astrocyte, although I did do some testing on Nova Warp and its shift ability. If Astrocyte actually increases the blink range or the shift range of the super itself, it does not appear so. However, I still find Astrocyte to be an underrated exotic. So guys, those are the exotics that I'm looking at for next season for all my Warlocks out there. Warlock mains should be very, very happy with everything that's about to happen, and the way things are shaping up, it almost looks like we're going to be in build heaven starting in season 15. Well guys, let me know in the comments below what you think of this. We'll be making another video just like this for Hunters and Titans. If you're new here, my name is Aztecross. Feel free to subscribe. We cover everything that's happening in Destiny 2, including Sandbox changes, as well as builds, weapon reviews, all the good stuff, man, and even some of the bad. So stick around. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.